What is going on, guys? It is WrestleLamia here, back with another video. Just before we get into the video, don't forget to like or dislike the video, subscribe, turn on notifications and leave a comment down below. Wrestling has and always will be a sport that takes a massive toll on one's body. So it's no surprise that many wrestlers retire early to avoid long-term health issues. However, some wrestlers ignore this completely and carry on wrestling up until their old age. The wrestlers on this list experienced massive popularity during the 80s in the WWF and still don their wrestling attire, trying to relive some of the glory days they had during that time. So in this video, we look at 10 WWF wrestlers who wrestled in the 80s and are still wrestling in 2017. Number 1. Demolition. Whilst the original member of Demolition Smash, Randy Coley, debuted with Axe all the way back in 1987, he was quickly replaced with Barry Darsow. With their recognizable face paint and spiked shoulder pads, they dominated the tag team scene for the most part, becoming the longest reigning tag team champions at the time. However, the team arguably suffered its downfall when third member Crush was brought in. With Bill Eadie's health issues in 1990, Demolition became the shadow of what they were in their glorious years. The team eventually disbanded in 1991, with both Smash and Crush continuing on as singles competitors. After leaving the WWF, Axe began using the name Axis the Demolisher on the independent circuit and joined with ex-Demolition member Randy Coley as well as wrestler Richard Charland, who adopted the ring name Blast. In 2007, the team of Axe and Smash reunited for the first time in 16 years, wrestling at the Meet the Legends event in Windsor, Ontario, Canada. After appearing on a number of other small independent promotions over the years, the team wrestled their final match on May 7, 2017, wrestling the Freak Nation at the Great North Wrestling event in Kingston, Ontario, Canada. Number 2. The Powers of Pain. The team of the Warlord and Barbarian were always slated in the wrestling world to be a rip-off of the more popular team of the Road Warriors. The team's face paint, hairstyles, shoulder pads, and domination in the ring were all similarities noticed by fans. Most believe Vince was trying to replicate the success of the Road Warriors in Jim Crockett Promotions, but the team actually adopted the look in JCP and even feuded with the Road Warriors there. The Powers of Pain were built as a dominant tag team in the WWF and experienced moderate success but never managed to capture the WWF tag titles. Similar to Demolition, both the Warlord and the Barbarian were split into singles competitors. They reformed many years later in 2005 for Gladiator Championship Wrestling and reunited as the Powers of Pain in Chikara, where they met their old rivals Demolition. Even though both are in their mid to late 50s, the team is in fantastic shape. They are still wrestling in 2017, wrestling for various independent promotions. Number 3. Tito Santana. Santana started off in the WWF in 1979, but returned in 1982, becoming the first Mexican-American wrestler to win the Intercontinental Championship. Santana then joined with Rick Martel to form Strikeforce to win the WWF Tag Team Championship. The team would split, however, in 1989, with Martel turning heel into the incredibly charismatic model character. Santana, however, would stay face and chase after the Intercontinental Championship once more, only to come up short in the finals of an IC tournament held in 1990. Santana was then handed the gimmick of El Matador, which demoted him to lower mid-card, wrestling on house shows and tours until 1993. After leaving the WWF, he would go on to wrestling in ECW, the American Wrestling Federation, and even made a return to WWF as a commentator in the late 90s. Aside from wrestling, he would open a hair salon in New Jersey and become a physical education teacher for Smalley Elementary School, but he continues to wrestle on the independent circuit. In 2004, he was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, and earlier this year, Santana reprised his El Matador gimmick against outlandish WWF New Generation wrestler Mantar at Pro Wrestling Syndicate, and wrestling in a number of other small indie promotions, giving no mention of retiring from the sport he so clearly loves. Number 4. Nikolai Volkoff. Wrestling all the way back in the 1960s in Vince McMahon Sr.'s WWF and making a name for himself wrestling Bruno Sammartino in the 70s, Volkoff returned to the WWF in 1984, teaming with the Iron Sheik as a foreign heel team, capturing the WWF Tag Team Championship. He would later team with Boris Zukov to form the Bolsheviks, eventually doing a 180, splitting up the team and becoming a pro USA face, and for a short while becoming a fan favourite, then eventually fizzling away. Volkoff would return full-time on WWF TV, joining the $1 Million Corporation before entering semi-retirement, making sporadic appearances on WWE reunion shows, and inducted into the 2005 WWE Hall of Fame. Even at the age of 69, Volkoff continues to wrestle, albeit it's a rare occurrence. He wrestled against Paul Rosenberg in the promotion Great North Wrestling recently. Number 5. Bushwhacker Luke. One half of the legendary team of the Bushwhackers, Luke and Butch didn't exactly emulate the success of Demolition in the WWF, but they were fan favourites, strutting their way down to the ring. The team were long survivors of the WWF, wrestling from 1988 all the way to 1996, cementing their place in the 2015 WWE Hall of Fame. However, after leaving the WWF, the Bushwhackers took part in the infamous Heroes of Wrestling pay-per-view, wrestling the Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkoff in possibly one of the worst wrestling matches in history. Sadly, Luke would go on to wrestle without his longtime tag team partner Butch, as he suffered a neck injury in 2001 and retired. Luke, however, continues to wrestle on the independent circuit, most recently wrestling at Ultimate Championship Wrestling. Number 6. Marty Jannetty. One half of the brightly coloured tag team of the Rockers in the 80s, many people thought Jannetty would be the shining star of the team and hopefully eventually becoming a successful singles superstar. However, as fate would have it, it was his tag partner Shawn Michaels who became one of the most successful superstars of the 90s. As for Jannetty, he was given a number of chances and opportunities to have a successful singles career, winning the IC Championship. But Jannetty would be fired more times by the WWF than wins he accumulated in the 90s. After a failed run in 2005, Jannetty signed with Chikara Pro Wrestling, and more recently wrestling for indie promotions like 3PW, proving he's still got some of that rocker spirit in him. Number 7. Hacksaw Jim Duggan. The beloved tough American patriot with his trusty 2x4 and his battle cry, winner of the first ever Royal Rumble, Duggan lasted until 1993 in the WWF before departing for WCW. After WCW's demise, Duggan appeared in the early days of TNA before making various appearances in the WWE and even wrestling in a number of matches up until 2012 under the same gimmick. As of 2017, he continues to wrestle on the independent circuit. Number 8. The Honky Tonk Man. Jerry Lawler's cousin Wayne Faris found national success in the WWF as the Honky Tonk Man, a heelish Elvis impersonator who held the Intercontinental Championship for a record 1 year, 2 months and 27 days. He teamed with Greg Valentine as Rhythm and Blues before leaving in 1991. The Honky Tonk Man returned to the WWF as a color commentator, briefly managing Billy Gunn as his protege, Rockabilly. Since then, he has made many appearances on the indie circuit and at fan conventions. He claims in a 2016 interview he was offered an induction into the 2010 WWE Hall of Fame but turned it down. He continues to wrestle on the independent circuit, something he has done for over 17 years. He most recently wrestled for Impact Pro Wrestling in Wellington, New Zealand. Number 9. Brutus Beefcake. Brutus was cutting and strutting in the WWF between 1987 to 1993, mostly alongside brother Hulk Hogan. Whilst Beefcake took on a substantial number of gimmicks, his barber gimmick was undoubtedly his most successful one. But even though he was unable to use the gimmick in WCW, he managed to stay there long enough until 1999, becoming the Zodiac, the Booty Man, and the Disciple, just to name a few. Still in great condition, he still manages to get into his zebra print attire, wrestling on the independent circuit occasionally. And number 10. Coco Beware. Some fans were surprised when Coco was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2009 given his status as a mid-carder. His colourful attire and macaw Frankie made him a fan favourite, even though he lost his fair share of matches. Coco did a lot for someone on the undercard, cutting the title song on the Piledriver album and putting over many stars during his run in the company. After leaving the WWF in the mid-90s, he appeared for the American Wrestling Federation and has made many one-off appearances in both the WWF and TNA. As of 2017, Coco Beware still dons the colourful wrestling attire and wrestles on the independent circuit. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Comment down below on anybody we've missed out on this list, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.